Yngvar, thank you so much for stopping by here by a pop-up studio at Norway Fintech Festival. Before we start, please tell us who you are and what you do.
So I'm Yngvar Ugland. I'm with the DNB Bank. That's my day job. We're on NewTechLab, and we're basically the Moonshots department of DNB. And Moonshots, that's like high-risk technology projects. And I also have a secondary position at Norwegian School of Economics up the street here, where I teach Moonshot innovation. So you can think about that as, Horizon 3 type of innovation. It's not about improving the existing. It's about coming up with solutions that are hard or difficult or even impossible to imagine without having a deep knowledge into the opportunity space that is spanned out by new technologies.
All right, that's super interesting. So if we think about innovation, there's usually innovation that is like, let's do what we've always done in a different way. Then there's let's do stuff that we haven't done before. Yeah. Does the Moonshot fit within that, or is that just taking it even further?
Yeah, kind of like things we haven't done before. I like to describe it as with a metaphor, like it was never the breeding of faster and faster horses that gave us the locomotive. It was entirely new technology, driven forward by totally different people than the horse breeders.
Right.
So, because if you gave the steam engine to the horse breeders, they would probably just use it to heat up the stable, right? And then, in retrospect, the locomotive seems like a wonderful and obvious idea. But in prospect, it seemed like ridiculous because, horses would take you from A to B, which is where you wanted them to take you. Whereas a locomotive depended on rails that can only go from C to D.
Right.
And if you want to go from A to B, and then you would have to go from A to C to D and then to B. But it turns out over time, it's a superior way of doing transport. So that's an example of what a moonshot is. But it's hard to imagine if you're into the space of horse breeding.
Yes.
Right. So that's basically what it is, and that's it's not always just new technologies, but very often it's the moonshot opportunity space comes from entirely new technologies. So we're trying to look at what are the opportunities that comes from that you couldn't ask your customers for, because it would be hard for customers of horse breeders to imagine a locomotive.
Right.
Yeah.
And within Moonshots, do you also consider brand new business models, or is that not as daring as a Moonshot would be? Well,
we don't start with a business model. We're thinking more about what becomes possible with this. So it's more like a jobs to be done type of approach. Instead of doing it like this and this and this, what is the ultimate reason why a customer would do this? And then if maybe there's a totally different way to achieve the same job to be done, to use that kind of terminology.
Okay, now my next question, DNB, traditional bank, like many other traditional banks in the Nordics, risk averse, maybe some of them have a venture fund here and there. What drove DNB to take such a big leap towards actually implementing a tech lab that looks at moonshots?
Yeah, so there's a spectrum, and I think it's important to understand that banks like DNB, we make money out of managing risk, of taking risk and managing it within the capital markets and so on. So it's not unnatural at all that we look at technology and look at the upside risk of technology projects. So that's like we have it in our DNA to make money out of taking risk, but that's like financial risk. And then all research shows that when you're in an established market, yes, it makes sense to have good quality products that because if you don't have good quality products, your customers won't like it. You also need to be perceived as innovative. And it turns out that being perceived as innovative, that is making something continuously that is notably different, so that people feel that, oh, here's something new that I can use. This is cool, this is innovative. When they perceive you as innovative, they become more loyal to you, and they leave more money with you. So that's both of those, both high quality and being perceived as innovative is necessary, but it's not sufficient.
Right.
Because you can live out of quality and being perceived as innovative today and halfway into tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow, it's likely that something will come along and make your current business model obsolete, and that often comes from moonshots or from entirely new ways of doing it, often done by people totally different than the traditional bankers.
Yes.
So I guess the idea of DNB is that let's have that kind of capability within the bank instead of someone else on the outside inventing the business model that is making what we do today obsolete.
Right. And I would say that it works because for me to learn that DNB has a Moonshot lab, it immediately makes me think like, wow, that's really progressive, that's really stand out, and I guess that's part of the purpose of having it. Now, can you give us perhaps some examples of some moonshots that are maybe a bit more recent, that for our audience that has never really understood the concept of moonshots?
So first I should say that we have this idea of that for hundreds of ideas, we make some tens of proof of concepts, some prototypes, some working technology of moonshots, and then out of that comes a few innovations. So it's like 1 to 100, 2 orders of magnitude. Right. That means that most of our ideas never see the world. And there's also a lot of lead time. And an example of that would be, say, cryptocurrencies that we now call digital assets. We've been working with this since 2017, and back then it was underground things. Now we're working on things that might be ready for market if DNB decides that that's something we want to offer. So it's a lot of lead time. A few examples during the COVID lockdown. There was a significant need for society to provide funds, cash funds, to businesses that would be out of, they would basically go bankrupt unless they get cash support from the government. And the amount of time it would take from the point when the Ministry of Finance realized this until you would have a cascade of bankruptcies was 3 weeks. And that was the time available to build a solution for that. And that's kind of the most famous thing we did, because it saved tens of thousands of companies from being bankrupt by getting cash support from the government.
Right.
And also, you know, another one is 30 years from now. 30 years ago, we had people would physically break into a bank to steal money, and recently we launched self-service access to the bank, and we had some pretty high-tech versions of that, like face recognition, voice recognition, and so on. The first implementation was low-tech; it was a PIN code, but still, by doing those science fiction-ish face rec, voice recognition type of things, you move the reference point, and what comes out of that is still significantly different from what it used to be. So.
Okay. Now you mentioned just a while ago that in a tech lab like the one from DNB, you don't really have the traditional banker in there. So what kind of people thrive in a tech lab that does moonshots? What are the kind of people you're looking for?
Well, first of all, we're a small team. We're self-contained and self-served on technology, knowledge, capacity, and ability to build and fail. So we need to be very complementary to each other. But at the core, everyone needs to be able to contribute to building stuff. So for us, it means everyone needs to be able to code. Some people know hardware. Some people actually knows banking, but that's not everyone. And some people are experts on hardware. Some people are more like a background from arts and music and all that. But the point is that everyone needs to bring the core superpower, which is you need to be brilliant at coding, and then some additional superpower that complements the team. So.
Okay.
And I think that's the ability to think differently is important, because otherwise we will be what we often call as being blessed by knowledge. because when you're really deep into something, and it's always been like that, it's very easy to think, to convince yourself that I have all these arguments and good reasons why it has to be like that. When you don't have that knowledge, you can be cursed by ignorance, and that's what we try to be. We don't understand why things has to be so complicated, and that was the key success of the key reasons why we succeeded with the compensation scheme. Because, okay, 3 weeks seems impossible. Okay, what does it take for it to become possible? And then solve that. What is the simplest thing we can build from scratch to solve this problem? And I think if we weren't blessed by ignorance, we would never have managed to.
That's an extremely attractive mindset, I would say. Now, we're here at the Norway Fintech Festival, more than 500 people, the place is buzzing. What's in it for DNB, and specifically for you as the head of the Tech Lab to be here and engaging with the fintech ecosystem from Norway and across the Nordics?
Yeah, so there's several things. I mean, I just came from 2 pillow talks on stage, and that's a wonderful way to get to know people, interesting people, and talk about interesting topics that are related or somehow related to what I do. It expands your perspective, and also, you know, meeting people randomly. I mean, that's I think meeting people you didn't know for random reasons. I mean, that's part of the serendipity that you need to come across the right opportunities, and also seeing all these perspectives from people on stage, and having everyone in the same space like this, multiple scenes, and seeing what is the state of Norwegian fintech and what is going on, and all these discussions between clever people. I think that's it's a lot of input you can get in a very short time in a very dense space. So I think that's kind of the reason why I spend my time here.
Right, and just the last question: what's been your key takeaway from the day so far?
Well, I think fintech has, it's been, the word has been around for pretty maybe 15 years now, and I think there's kind of so many exciting things going on. I think there's a new spring. So,
all right,
that's.
Well, Yngvar, thank you very much. I really enjoyed this conversation. It's fascinating listening to what you're doing. Have a great rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Thanks.